Tackle, and today I want to quickly look back at what broke the fans, the Lord of the Rings Hobbit and Strategy battle game. Now apparently a lot of people took exception to what I had to say last time, with a lot of respondents saying I don't know what I'm on about, blah 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 blah. Well, can the fucking butt hurt, chaps? Let's look at this from my perspective, okay? Almost everyone who has something negative to say is based in Europe. You don't know squat about my scene, I don't know much about your scene, but I'm willing to take a bet I'm more informed about your scene than you are about the Australian scene, right? And most of what I say is based on the Australian point of view. Because I'm not in the UK, I'm not in Europe, I can't make definitive statements about what it's like. I know what's happening in my country, and most of my viewpoint is based around that. And all I ever try and do with these videos is give a view, right, of how it feels to be playing these games from my perspective and the people around me. Now, people can say to me, oh, you know, this system isn't broken, or this faction's fine, or blah blah blah, and that's perfectly fine opinion to have, right? But you need to be informed about why I think the way I do, or why the people around me think the way they do, right? Because it's a different kettle of fish. So first thing I want to tackle is the fact that we got a lot of comments. That's fine. Comments are great. I love the feedback, right? And I'll look into them. People seem to really fixate on the broken part about what broke the fans. What broke the fans is a figurative name. It's not a literal thing. It's not like we all sat down one day, you know, and we were playing, I don't know, we were playing a Fellowship of the Ring game, and then just one of us just broke down in tears. Oh, Games Workshop fucked it. Life's not the same. No. That's just the name of the series, right? And as I say to a commenter here, it's not about literally breaking. It's about what damage the game, or it's been caused to the game and the community because of the company, right? And when people say, oh, it's a very negative series, yes, it is a very negative series. I'm glad you understand that, because it wouldn't be what broke the fans if it was a positive series. It would be, you know, what lifted the fans, or something like that. Okay? So, you've calmed your farm. Now, let's go into the actual comments themselves. There was some great comments in here, and a lot of it is, you know, things like, you're definitely wrong. I've held multiple Hobbit strategy battle game tournaments in the last 3 years here in Europe. I'm not definitely wrong. As I say here, I'm in Australia. I can only judge by our scene. Lord of the Rings was allowed to die by Games Workshop. The fans kept it alive. However, you Hobbit players, you think that you have this amazing tight-knit community that no one else has. You're wrong. You have an amazing tight-knit community. I can't take that away from you, nor would I even attempt to. I think it's fantastic. But you've got to remember, Mordheim has a strong community. Inquisitor has a strong community. Battlefleet Gothic has a strong community. Necromunda has a strong community. Blood Bowl has a strong community and has been bought back by Games Workshop, and now the community is growing again, right? Even Man of War, a game that's not been sold for nearly 30 years, has a strong community, right? A very small community compared to the others, but it is still strong, right? Strong communities exist. They exist in spite of Games Workshop's lack of cooperation, right? And you can't use the existence of a strong community to say that Games Workshop didn't fuck up. They fucked up. You just have to accept that. Okay, guys? Just accept it. They fucked up. They are making amends. They are making amends. It's great. It's fantastic, right? They're giving back to the community. They're bringing out new products. They're looking back at the rules. They're fixing a lot of the things I talked about in this video. The original video, however, is 2 months old. Since it originally came out, we now have way more units for the Iron Hills Dwarves, right? We have way more units for Azog's Legions. We have Trolls, we have Gundabad Ogres, things like that, right? It's great. There's new stuff coming out. It wasn't there. It was in part there, but it wasn't there when we first made the video. And that's the thing with these videos. They're always going to be evolving. You know, when I did the What Broke the Fans for the Chaos Space Marines said one day they're going to get a new book. And even since I've done that first video, they got Legion rules. They're not great, but they got them, right? And that was one of the key complaints from that video, right? It doesn't mean that that video is now categorically wrong, because that video is a snapshot of that point in time and what had come before it, okay? Other people talk about how, oh, tournaments filled up straight away. Great. It's fantastic when tournaments fill up. I've seen Epic tournaments fill up straight away here in Australia. Epic. Epic hasn't been sold for 10 years. Right? But there's third-party developers and things like that making it. There's FAQs going around. People support it. People are into it. And people go out and do it. And a lot of people like to bring up, take a trip over the GBH channel on YouTube. Guess what? I have. I really like this channel, believe it or not. I've been on this channel many times. I actually remember when the boys originally were doing this channel just from like their basement, right? And they were just playing games at home. And eventually James turned around and said, oh, you know what? I'm going to take this full time. I want to make something out of this. This is going to be a full-time thing. And it's taken off for him. And that's fantastic. That's great for the community. And again, that's in spite of Games Workshop. Now, they may be getting active support now from Games Workshop. I don't know the entire details of it, right? I can only talk about what I've seen in the videos, and I don't watch every video. I just don't have the time, because I'm doing a lot of work in my own time, and I'm struggling to get my own models painted, do my own hobby, and produce my own videos, right? People talk about things like Warhammer World. I don't give a fuck about Warhammer World, right? And I'll focus in on it right here. And I talk about it in my response to one of the people. Don't speak to me about Warhammer World events. Because I live 16,000 kilometers away. The events are dangled like a carrot, right? Come along, come see this. The atmosphere, the armies, the special event miniatures. But it's all unavailable to us, right? We don't have an equivalent in Australia. We don't have a central Games Workshop store. We have many local stores spread out in our capital cities. I don't know if anyone is familiar with the geography of the planet Earth, but Australia is a pretty big fucking place, right? My closest Games Workshop is 120 kilometers away. 120 kilometers. That's halfway across England, right? Let that sink in. So, it's hard for us to actually get out there and go to these stores, right? I know myself and many other people in the past have approached Games Workshop here in Australia, or Forge World even, or Games Workshop UK, and tried to organise for events to happen. Games Workshop run events here in Australia, and it simply isn't supported. Games Workshop does not give a fuck about giving us the same respect and giving us the same level of support that they're willing to give players in their own country and in Europe, right? They've started to make amends again. Occasionally now, you will see a Games Workshop stalls at tournaments here. It's fantastic. There should be more of it, right? But you see all these other developers go out of their way to interact with the community and get involved. They're not doing that here. So when I talk about Games Workshop doing their best to kill the hobby, that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about, Games Workshop coming into your houses over in the UK, smashing all your models and things like that. When I say what broke the fans, when I do one of these videos, I'm talking about what what the impact's been on us and what I've seen from the fallout. And many of the individual points that I go into, like talking about source books, out of production models, that kind of thing. This is the entirety of what we have currently, right? And this has been updated since I did my video. There's more stuff here than there was before. Some of it wasn't available, some of it was sold out. Whatever, it doesn't matter. But when I did the original video, not everything you see now was here, right? Lake Town was here, I do believe, but as I pointed out, good armies. If I want to collect Numenor, for example, where's the heroes? Where's the archers? Things like that. There are models that are out of production. They may not be out of production over in Europe. I don't know. But here and now, this is all I can see, right? So let's go Arnold. What do I want? Oh, can I get Arathorn? No. What about Arvedui? No. Melbeth? No. What about... Fuck, I think that is actually all of the line. So, missing a lot of things. Halbarad. There's no Halbarad. There we go. That was the one I was thinking of. With banner or without. The Hobbit is being fixed. I freely admit it. Right? And that's a good thing. I don't want to be a total negative Nancy in these videos. Oh, it's all shit, everything's shit. I'm just talking about the current state of affairs and why things aren't that great. And things aren't that great. They're improving. But I'm not going to give them the credit of having improved everything and fixed everything like other people are until it's actually been achieved, right? At the moment, it's a set of goals. And they've taken a kick and the ball's in the air, but it hasn't gone through the goals yet, okay? They're doing better. Yes, tournaments are getting a lot of feedback and a lot of promotion over in Europe for The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. We don't have 100-person Lord of the Rings tournaments here in Australia, not because people wouldn't attend, but they're simply not being hosted, right? Games Workshop is not hosting a 100-person tournament. You go into a Games Workshop store here in Australia, you'll be lucky to find 6 or 7 different types of boxes on the shelf for Lord of the Rings, and then there'll be a starter set and a couple of blister packs with some heroes maybe, and that's it. That is literally it. That's how little support the Hobbit and Lord of the Rings hobby is being given here in Australia. So, all the people with all the negative criticism and the, you don't know what you're on about, you need to do research, blah, 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 blah. No, I know exactly what I'm on about. I'm talking about exactly what I can see, right? I've just shown it to you in not one, but 2 videos, what's available on our web store, right? I'm telling you what the actual Games Workshop's giving to us as a community, okay? Yes, Games Workshop did not kill The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. The community has kept it alive. But I can't stress this enough. You're not the only fucking community that they've done this to. Okay? Blood Bowl, Mordheim, Battlefleet Gothic, Epic, all of that. Same fucking story. Community has kept it alive. Tournaments still exist. People still play the game. There's still FAQs. Some people even got Games Workshop's staff involved. People who used to write these games and have since left Games Workshop coming back to write FAQs about them, for example. I know that's definitely the case with Mordheim, right? That one of the guys who actually worked on the original Mordheim game has come back to the fans and updated the FAQs for them, right? In his own time. That's fantastic, isn't it? Right? Well, that's the situation that the Lord of the Rings is in right now. The only difference with Lord of the Rings was the models never left the stores. You're in the exact same position that Blood Bowl was in. That Blood Bowl, did leave the store, and now it's come back and it's got that community again. And the community's just come out of the woodwork, and it's fantastic, right? But I'm not letting Games Workshop off on it. They know what they did. And something else I'd like to point out when I talk about a couple of things. First is the special weapons. And it was pointed out, special weapons rules, the 2 alternate weapon modes, may seem to slow down the game, but really speeds it up. That's true. It slows down the game in the fact that you have to declare what you're doing when you're doing it, and you can't just, like it was originally, just point this model attacks, and move on real quick. You can't. You've now got to state this model is attacking using this mode. Right? It is slower in that regard. But if it pays off, that model may gain a benefit from the weapon, which will kill their enemies faster. That is true. I know as well as anyone what it's like when you have 2 lines clash of heavily armoured infantry in Lord of the Rings, and how quickly it bogs down to a fucking stalemate. Right? It does. It's just tedious when you're doing a 1 dice versus 1 dice roll-off with a 6 only will kill. Sucks, especially if it's someone fighting dwarves and they're rolling 6s and 4s or something stupid and the whole time, and nothing is dying on either side. Alright? It does happen, and those alternate weapon modes can fix that. However, my whole point with it, and with that regard, my response to it is rather that the flaw is more in the actual system itself than the weapons. Because originally when the Fellowship of the Ring book was released, 5-ups were the average to kill something. 4-ups in the case of killing goblins. Right? 4s and 5s are pretty easy to roll on a dice compared to a 6. But the initial power creep of the 2 Towers and the Return of the King books meant that a lot more units are available with a high defense value. We're talking 4s, 5s, and even 6s being quite common. When in the first book, 4 was a common defense value. And because of the higher defense values becoming way, way more common, like whole armies of defense 6, bunches of models like Guard of the Fountain Court with defense 7 and the bodyguard rule, right? Things that just won't die, right? These things are out there, and because these things are out there, it shifted the whole meta along, and now everything is measured off against that, you know, defensive 6 in a lot of ways, where, you know, you've got to roll high. And I can't stress this to people enough. That's a flaw in the system, right? You don't need to add all these special rules about weapons having alternate swinging modes if you slightly modified that core aspect of the system. But, you know, how you would do that specifically, I'm not quite sure. I'm not an expert in games development, right? I'm an expert in my own field, which is, you know, weapons and engineering. That's what I'm really good at, right? So, come to me about that if you like. But anyway, I just wanted to do this quick video just to respond to people, because people seem to really got their panties in a knot over it. I'm not having a dig at the hobby. I think it's fantastic. I have hundreds of Gondorian models, Minas Tirith specifically, on the shelf behind me, just waiting for a rules update before I get them back out again. And, yep, cool, they won at a tournament. I'm seeing a lot of the fucking lists playing in these Hobbit tournaments, and no offense, you guys are whack as fuck sometimes, right? Lists where it's like, here's my Mordor list, it's just 3 fucking ring wraiths on Felbeast. And Shelob, for example, was a list I saw on the Games Workshop community portal. Right? I'm sorry, but that's not for me, right? And that's not what I see a lot of here in Australia, right? A lot of what I see here in Australia is a lot of infantry, right? With a monster or two, things like that. Maybe a lot of giant spiders, things like that. And it's hard for me to see an army like that and not sort of raise an eyebrow and wonder what the scene is like in other countries, because I know Europe has a very, very different attitude when it comes to what's considered power gaming compared to Australia. So I'll make my peace with it somehow. Anyway, thanks all for watching the video. I'm sure I'll get another shitstorm in the comments, and everyone likes to tell me how I'm wrong and that I don't know what's on our own fucking web store here in Australia, or how our own tournaments work, or the fact that I can simply just walk or drive or fly to Warhammer World and it's not really an issue and I shouldn't complain. Anyway, all that aside, thanks for watching the video. Give us more comments, give us more feedback. I do appreciate it, believe it or not. Even if I do disagree with it, or some of the comments make me raise an eyebrow or irritate me, doesn't matter, right? It's the internet, it's the world of make-believe, and I will get back to you if I can. I'll see you all next time.